best fall pay-per-views of all time because we're in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, so instantly shows you probably think of, and Alex, tell me if you agree with me here. You probably think of Fall Brawl, Halloween Havoc,
Oh yeah. I'm
Fear.
about to go through the list from greatest to worst.
Oh, that's interesting. So you did great. See, I'm gonna mention when you're done. I'm gonna mention 5 shows that I picked that are not really well-known shows that people should check out, and I want to hear what your list is first.
Number 1, Halloween Havoc 1998. Number 2, Fall Brawl 1995. Number 3, Survivor Series 2005. Number 4 is Fall Brawl 1994. And then number 5 is WCW Mayhem 2000.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you mentioned a couple of shows that in your opinion, which are known shows. I'm about to throw shows at you, Alex. You're gonna fall backwards on your chair, and why you liked your shows, and I'll tell you why I liked mine. All right. All right. So one for me, it's an obvious one. Survivor Series 1990. That's the Undertaker's debut. Survivor Series 2002. AAA. So AAA, if you don't know what AAA is, it's a Mexican promotion, Lucha Libre.
Yep.
AAA Worlds Collide 1994. TNA Turning Point 2009. And Ring of Honor Man Up 2007. So, Alex, do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first? Do you want to hear my reasons, or do you want to go first and do
I'll go
yours?
first and explain the reasoning for my list. So I picked Halloween Havoc in '98 because if you look back on it, it's a pretty legendary show. You had big names like Goldberg, who defended his world heavyweight title against Diamond Dallas Page, Hollywood Hogan against the Ultimate Warrior in a singles match, Bret Hart defeating Sting in a knockout match, Scott Hall against Kevin Nash in singles competition. Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner, brothers going to war in a singles match. So there's a lot of interesting matchups in here. Even Billy Kidman, who was in the cruiserweight division for WCW at the time.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I mean, look, 1990 Survivor Series, it's pretty easy. The card is cool, but look, The Undertaker made his big debut. And that's something I think that's going to be remembered in wrestling history. When you look back on it, you're going to want to tune into it. You're going to want to see what it looks like. I mean, Brother Love was his manager. That's how far back it goes. Before Paul Bearer even existed. The card is okay. You have Hulk Hogan, Tio Santana, the Ultimate Warrior. The faces always won their matches. That was really what it comes down
Yeah.
to.
And then
Yeah.
for me, for Fall Brawl 95, I would say from the result list, from 1 to 10, I would say the best match here, just by looking at it, had to be the War Games match with Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Lex Luger, Sting with Jimmy Hart, against the Dungeon of Doom, Kamala, the Zodiac, the Shark, and Ming, the Taskmaster.
I remember all that. I remember
That's a classic matchup there. That sounds like some classic names.
Hogan had to go through this maze or whatever it was to get to the Taskmaster to get to where he wanted. So another one I'll throw at you again. Turning Point, TNA Turning Point 2009. Now there's 2 matches on this card that you look back on. Now the card is but there's 2 matches you need to check out. One match is Kurt Angle versus Desmond Wolfe, who is now Nigel McGuinness. We all know who Nigel McGuinness is. He's the announcer for NXT UK, for NXT, for NXT in general when he's there. So Kurt Angle and Desmond Wolfe had a great submission match. I watched this whole pay-per-view. I watched all these pay-per-views, by the way, from start to finish. I sat there and I watched it. You have to check out this main event. For the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, it's AJ Styles as the champion defeating Christopher Daniels and Samoa Joe. You haven't checked out that match, you're missing.
That sounds like a match I need to watch. Really need.
I remember watching it live, and I went back and I rewatched it again. It was awesome, and it's amazing because those 3 put the X Division on the map for TNA, and now here they are main eventing a pay-per-view. Those 3 had an unbelievable rivalry. They were best friends, so they knew each other really well. So that's a match you gotta look back on, for sure.
Definitely. And going back to my list here, some of these matches are great. Like Chris Jericho, who had a rivalry with Raven for in WCW for the television championship. Man, that sounds like a rivalry that went back and forth for a while. And Chris Jericho, he was known as WCW Monday Night Jericho back then because it was WCW. That was the brand he was on,
Yep.
and he was competing against really big names: Rey Mysterio Jr., Disco Inferno, Billy Kidman, all those big names. Alex Wright. Um, I'm trying to remember. Eddie Guerrero, yeah, Eddie Guerrero. He competed against him. So there's a lot of people that he's gone against and really taken really went to the next level with these matches. And then another one for me would have to be Bret Hart versus Sting because those are two big legendary names in sports entertainment.
That match was so bad though. Yeah, it's a legendary match. It is. I agree with you 100%, Alex. You would think when you hear those two names, you would think it should be legendary, but
It just didn't turn out how you expected. No.
out for sure. Survivor Series 2002 for me, it's quite simple. The card is not very good, but the main event is awesome. And if you notice my trend, Alex, my trend is this: the shows aren't great, but there's one or two matches you gotta check out. This was the first ever Elimination Chamber match, where Shawn Michaels, who had just come out of retirement, defeated Triple H, Chris Jericho, Kane, Booker T, and Rob Van Dam, and this was at Madison Square Garden. Check out that match. The match was insanely awesome. When you look at those competitors, that was, again, this was the Ruthless Aggression era. So like I said, when you look back on it, if you had never seen that match, go check it out. It's awesome. It's worth watching.
Definitely. And Survivor Series '05, that's number 3 on my list because we saw Team SmackDown, Batista, Bobby Lashley, JBL, Randy Orton, and Rey Mysterio defeat Team Raw, Big Show, Carlito, Chris Masters, Kane, and Shawn Michaels. And then after Team SmackDown won, we heard the gong, the arena goes dark. We saw Undertaker come out and confront Randy Orton, saying that he is next on the hit list. And yeah, that became one of the biggest rivalries for Randy Orton in his singles career.
Yes, it did. It absolutely did, for sure. I'm gonna go over AAA When Worlds Collide, and this is from 1994, and this is something that people need to look at because when you think of the cruiserweights that happened growing up, who's that, like, you know what I mean? When you look back on this card, it's crazy. You have Psychosis on this card. Rey Mysterio is on this card. Two Cold Scorpios on this card. Tito Santana's on this card. La Parka is on this card. Eddie Guerrero is on this card. Conan is on this card. And these are young, up-and-coming cruiserweights that want to be in huge deals in the wrestling business. So this is a card that I watched from start to finish, and this is something that I think many will like, they'll check out, and I think they'll enjoy it very much.
I agree with you. It seems like what pay-per-view was that again?
That was AAA Worlds Collide 1990.
Wow, that seems like a really, really great show. It sounds like it was a great pay-per-view for AAA. I've never watched AAA, but I've heard great things about them. I've heard amazing things about their shows.
If you've never watched AAA and you've never watched, well, Lucha Underground doesn't exist anymore, but they had it, I think, on Netflix for a time being. If you never watched those two shows, go watch them, especially AAA. AAA is phenomenal. It's unfortunate. They were originally going to be at Madison Square Garden last year. They were going to be in the big arena, and unfortunately, they didn't sell enough tickets, so they had to move to the theater at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
Because they didn't sell enough. And,
No.
They tried, and I get it. That was worth an effort. I was going to go to the show, but it was, AAA is, I think, getting better all the time with developing superstars.
So I got one more to go through on my list because we're kind of short on time. So, this is Fall Brawl 1994. There are some legendary names in here from even old school, going back to the 80s or a little bit in the 90s. Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeated Stunning Steve Austin for the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship. Johnny B. Bad defeated Lord Steven Regal for the WCW World Television Championship. And then this match, Dusty Rhodes, the Natural, Dustin Rhodes, and the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs and Jerry Saggs defeated the Stud Table, Terry Funk, Arn Anderson, Bunkhouse Buck, Colonel Robert Parker with Ming. So that sounds like, these sound like really classic matches, old school matches that date back. The people still remember today. People who grew up watching this pay-per-view in '94. So a lot of people who grew up with these names like Kevin Sullivan, Dave Sullivan, Cactus Jack, Brad Armstrong, Brian Armstrong, Steve Kern, Bobby Eaton, all those big famous names that people still know today.
Yeah. The last one for me, because again, Alex, like you said, we're short on time and we're going to get to New Japan. It's his Ring of Honor Man Up 2007. Again, Nigel McGuinness, he's on the card. And, excuse me, we all know who Rocky Romero is, right?
Yep.
Who Rocky Romero is. He defeated Matt Cross in a match. Austin Aries defeating Davey Richards. How about this one? You have Roderick Strong defeating Eric Stevens for a match. Takeshi Morishima, who was an underrated Ring of Honor World Champion, defeated Bryan Danielson, better known as Daniel Bryan, for the Heavyweight Championship. But the main event, and I've seen this main event, it's unbelievable. It's the Briscoe brothers, Mark and Jay Briscoe, defending the championships against Kevin Steen, better known as Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn, who in here was El Generico. That was the main event. It was a ladder match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. The Briscoes versus Kevin Steen and El Generico. Awesome, awesome, awesome show. You need to check this out. If you want to see some of our wrestlers in NXT, even AEW, they're here. They're on the show. And New Japan as well, because New Japan has a partnership with Ring of Honor. But you'll see a lot of their NXT guys came from Ring of Honor.
Exactly. And then if you want to watch back the old school pay-per-views like Halloween Havoc 98, Fall Brawl 95, or Survivor Series 2005, they're all on the WWE Network, so you can watch those from the free version or for the paid version for WWE.
For sure. It's easier to find yours, Alex. It's a little harder to find mine, but I bet you could find them on YouTube somewhere. YouTube has everything.